ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from an undisclosed secret location in the heart of England. It's That Comic Book Show with your host, GhostCritic.
All I can say about this issue is, will you just let her die? Funny, chilled, laid-back personality, flagship Marvel superhero team I hadn't actually read before. So it was all video games, video games, video games. Any fan of Jack the King Kirby should have one of these in their collection. Good evening, my name's GhostCritic, and here's last week's news. Can't say that I don't listen to my viewers. Yes, it was deemed that I should lose the suit. Thank God for that. Only thing is, Travis, Oddfellow's Thoughts, wouldn't believe me reading the news unless I was wearing a tie. So I kept the tie. Not really a great big news week for comics, really. It was E3 last week, so it was all video games, video games, video games. But even in that slew of new consoles and the slurry of new games that are being thrown out to us from the big two, comic books actually did filter in a little bit. 3 new games that are based on comic book characters were right up there at the top. 2 of them I'm very interested in. One mildly. Batman Arkham Origins. Really looking forward to that game. The last couple have just been great. Really thoroughly enjoyed watching those. Lego Marvel Superheroes. A new Lego game. I just love the Lego games. I can't get enough of them. I've played them all, even the Pirates of the Caribbean one, and I don't like the movies. Yeah, so anything Lego, I'll buy it if it's in a game, and given that it's the Marvel superheroes as well, I'm just like, even better. Apparently the stories, it's not just going to be one story, they're going to be pulling from all different types of like the Marvel events that have happened, so it's not just going to focus on one particular character. And anyone who knows the Lego games, you know, you collect X amount of coins and bits and bobs along the way, and you get more and more characters, so I'm sure there is a huge variety and cast of characters to play. The final one that I saw that was kind of comic book related, well, it is comic book related, was The Walking Dead 400. Not a huge fan of the last game, but the trailers looked interesting. Not on the main characters as we know them. These are new characters within the Walking Dead universe. And the only other kind of interesting comic book news that I saw was Image have told us they've got 6 more new books coming out very soon. Only 3 of them really kind of intrigued me, maybe of interest, and yet again Image are getting sexy. Sex criminals. Matt Fraction. He's a naughty boy. How am I going to do this? We have a couple whose superpower is that when they have sex, they stop time. He can't be that good. And they basically use this time when it's stopped to go out and basically steal and rob banks. So that's an interesting concept. And it doesn't stop with the sex there. We have from Glen Brunswick, Reality Check. A comic book artist has a surprise hit regarding a sex superhero. But his main character comes to life and goes out looking for true love. Interesting twist there, which might be well worth a read. finally, and most exciting for me really, is Multiple Warheads is doing an 80-page special of work that they've done in the past. So Brandon Graham's 2007 The Fall, the first Warhead short, which was back in 2003, and the Multiple Warhead story Elevator from 2004, all put together in a nice 80-page book. Cannot wait for that. And if you loved Multiple Warheads that's just been, that will be just as good. I'm afraid really that's all the news there was. So from me, your newscaster Ghost Critic, that was last week's news. This week's In Bed with Ghost Critic, and I have something a little bit different for you. Still obviously of the comic book genre. So from my bedside stack this week, any fan of Jack the King Kirby should have one of these in their collection. It is this huge Jack Kirby collector, focusing for the most part about his character Atlas. This is like a magazine. Obviously, as you can see, it's an oversized magazine format. It's not that thick, but inside is just page after page after page of Kirby goodness. Loads of articles by people who have worked with Kirby, who have longed to work with Kirby, who've loved Kirby's work, and who have also collected and saved a lot of his original artwork. And there is some gorgeous pages in this one alone. There is just some amazing Thor pencils from Kirby. Hopefully we can see these. It's just fantastic series. Like I said, any fan of Jack Kirby should be looking for this. I found this for £4, so that was a certain treat for me. You can get these in a smaller size, collected lot, kind of about, I think it's about 2 or 3 issues, but they're much smaller. Got another glorious huge pages. I mean, I'm not going to, but I just want to rip these out and put them in picture frames. As I said, you get like articles in there as well about various pieces of Kirby history, all in black and white, but it is just fantastic. It's shout out time, and this week it's for this young fella here, Mr. CDC Amp, who's having a competition to boot. So make sure you check out the description bar below where I'll put a link to this particular video. Mr. CDC Amp does loads of review videos, and he just has this really funny, chilled, laid-back personality that just draws me in as a viewer. He has some spot-on reviews. I don't often disagree with him, but competition at the moment, and that's what's great about these shout-outs as well. The competition kind of revolves around getting to know him and also kind of getting to know the people around in your comic book community here on YouTube too, which is what it's all about, supporting each other, getting everybody's voice heard, however big, however small. So, Mr. CDC Amp, you were the shout out this week. It was a very strange and weird week for me in comics. Knowing what comics I'm going to get a few days beforehand, because I get an email from my local comic book shop, I anticipated being unhappy with a few titles and thinking finally I can drop some, maybe save a little bit of money or think about getting other titles. Didn't quite go to plan. Didn't quite go to plan. Let's kick it off. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy issue 3. Great cover. Thank you, Mr. CDC AMP, for noticing that it is a kind of homage to a Wolverine comic from ages ago. I would never have spotted that. But the story inside, our Guardians have been captured by the Spartax Royal Guard, and they are basically pilfering their weapon supply. So it's up to our barked hero Groot to save the day. Then we've got this royal conclave that Peter's dad keeps going to, all the heads of the alien races, where they're supposedly making the big decisions, and there's certainly some dissent in those ranks. And right at the end, Peter gets one right over on his dad. This is quite a fun title. Bendis is going a fine line between making this just like a big laugh out loud riot and something veering towards the more political, serious side. But he's doing a good job at the moment. McNiven's artwork on this I really enjoyed. It's a fun title at the moment. It hasn't grabbed me, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm willing to give this a few more issues to see where it's going. Star Wars issue 6. I do have a problem with this title, and because this comes between Star Wars and Empire, there's no tension to any of the storylines, especially when you have your main characters. In this instance, we left last issue where Leia, supposedly, the ship exploded or was veering off, had been shot at, and it didn't look good for Leia. Well, we know she's going to survive. She's in the next 2 blooming movies. So I'm having a problem, because whatever storyline they put, however interesting it might be, there is no feeling that they're not going to make it. We all know they end up at the planet. Is it the Hoth planet? No. The ice planet. That's Hoth, isn't it? See, this is how big a Star Wars fan I am. And I think that's another problem, and it's probably me more than anything. I want to be one of the cool kids and be getting the Star Wars cool comic. The artwork's really nice. It's a little bit cartoony, but I can take that. With this one, I was thinking, oh, let's not pretend anymore. This isn't going to be the comic I thought it was going to be. And then I see next month's cover, and it's Darth Vader. And you think, oh, I'm going to have to pick that one up now. Die-hard fans only. It's all I can say. Buffy issue 22, you know, I've kind of been on the fence with this for a while. The last couple of issues with this core storyline has built it up a bit, but I guess that's because season 9 is coming to an end. There's only a few more issues of this left, I believe, and then there'll probably be a huge hiatus. Whether I'll come back to Buffy, in the comics at least, I don't know. All I can say about this issue is, will you just let her die? I don't like Dawn. I never have in the TV, I never have in the comic books, and I'm just like, she's not even a real person, she's just a ball of energy, let her die. But they're not. Buffy has got everyone together, and they are making their way to the deeper well to get some magic to keep her alive, fighting through tons of demons and big huge magic battle going on. The traitor in the midst is discovered. Buffy ain't happy. Not after what he said to Buffy last issue. Oh no. It's fun. It's Buffy. I'm a loyal Buffy fan. But to be honest, I'll be glad when this season ends. Another comic I was so close to dropping over the last few issues, and this was going to be, I guess, the clincher. And god damn it, it was a good comic. Brian Wood kicked it out of the park with Ultimate Comics X-Men issue 27. Not a great fan of the cover, but inside the artwork's really great, and it is time for war. General Ross is outside on the borders of Utopia with his army getting ready to battle our mutants. We have Jean Grey. She's fighting it out with Psylocke. Or is it Psylocke? Huge big twist here. Jean Grey is saying, you ain't Psylocke, and Psylocke isn't denying it. Crazy what the hell is going on. There's a huge big fight everywhere. Mutants against the army, Jean Grey against Psylocke, and it's not looking good for the mutants. Utopia is up in flames, but Rogue is in the background, and Utopia's secret weapon, and could they be saving the day? This really was a turnaround comic for me on this. So much more in it, so much more action, not so much, although there is a lot of talk, there's a lot of future plot line that's got me more excited with this. Thank God. For me, if not my wallet. Batman 21, and we start our 0-year marathon. I have to say, it didn't really pack the punch that Scott Snyder's previous storylines have done with their first initial issue. I don't know. There was no oomph about it. It kind of flip-flops between his childhood and then his kind of disappearance to go and train, and then this 5-6 year timeline rears its ugly head again, and it's like, how is this possible? You've had like 4 different Robins in 6 years. You've managed to get over all of them. However they've had their demise at being Robin, you've got over it, you've kept going. It usually takes you years and years to get over these kids, whether they're just left of their own accord or they die. But there we have it. It picks mostly up from Bruce coming back from his going out to be trained in all the martial arts, etc. But the world thinks Bruce Wayne is dead, and that's what Bruce Wayne still wants everyone to think. But, you know, you'd think he was quite a recognisable face, and so just going out with a coat and a cap on, it's not going to fool anyone really. And what is it with that cap? Why has it got the Robin symbol on it? It is the Robin symbol. Am I missing something here? I don't know. He bumps into his uncle Philip Kane, who has been taking over the business and pushing it forward and clearly making a lot of money for Bruce. But Bruce is just not interested. He obviously has his plans to become our Dark Knight Avenger. We also get introduced to what will be, well, it seems to be one of our main villains, and that is Edward Nygma, the Riddler. I like his office. It's got that whole, they love doing this, don't they? The little kind of post-it notes and scraps of paper written all over the place. And the one that intrigued me the most was where it said, remember the rip/fold. A clue to our 52 universe? Am I reading a little bit too much into it? Like I said, gotta say, unimpressed. with this first issue, and there's something about the artwork, and I know it's the colorist because Greg Capullo is a great artist. I forgot to look what the name of the colorist was, but it's too light. It's too washed out. It doesn't have that ping pizzazz to go with Greg Capullo's fantastically detailed work. It's a shame. So, what's my pick of the week? It's back up there. It's a marvellously fun, enjoyable comic. The best X title out there. Wolverine and the X-Men. Yes, it's brilliant. Once again, it's not been great over the last couple of issues. I think it's been leading up to this, a few fill-in artists, but Bradshaw is back on, so that's great. And we have the start of our Hellfire saga. Now, the kind of subplotty bit going on in here is Wolverine and Rachel trying to find the kids, Idri and Quentin Quire, who have gone off to, they think they've been kidnapped, but actually, you know, they've gone to join, for whatever their reasons, the Hellfire Club's new school. And wow, what a school this is. It is the complete antithesis of Wolverine's. It's like Hogwarts, but if every single school teacher was evil and had Professor Snape's best intentions, or most evilest intentions. So you have Mystique, you have Sauron, you have the big alien guy, is it Bloodstrike, something like that. I still don't get why Husk is evil. I think I've missed something there. Whether she's not really, and she's doing a little bit of double agenty stuff, but I don't quite get why she's there and why she's turned into such a horrible person. That might be X-history that I'm not aware of. But the whole thing is just fantastic. We get to find out what the Hellfire Club is up to regarding the students. They certainly put them through their paces in their kind of like orientation week. And Quentin Quire, always a smart mouth, could be getting taken down a peg or two. Just a great comic. If you haven't been picking up Wolverine and X-Men, this is definitely the time to jump in on it and pick up, because it is just a big fun comic. Lots of laughs in there, a little bit of action, great storytelling, great artwork. Pick it up. This week's Ultimate Graphic Novel Collection brings together a series that I had actually already read in singles, and this kind of flagship Marvel superhero team I hadn't actually read before until this series. I think I only have to mention one word: disassembled. And you probably know what's coming. It might have seemed a bit of an odd place to start, given that Brian Michael Bendis had just torn apart the Avengers and seemingly the team had come to an end. But given that it was such a huge team for Marvel and had been going on for decades in some semblance or other, it wasn't going to be long till a new team came along. And that team was New Avengers. Yes, Brian Michael Bendis and David Finch brought a new team together for a new Marvel era. We had Iron Man, Captain America, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Luke Cage, the Sentry. But how did they all come together? Well, this is what the first 3 issues of this collected work covers. And they are off to the Raft. The Raft being a prison for super villains, headed and run by S.H.I.E.L.D. And we get a few cameos in there. The story starts off, Matt Murdock and Foggy are going to visit a certain character that we don't know at the very beginning who is, but we have the kind of Bendis being kind of humorous, Foggy worrying about being in this prison with, you know, literally surrounded by hundreds of supervillains, and how safe is it for him. And of course, you know something's going to go wrong, and it does indeed. The man behind this, or at least this part of the story, is Electro. He's been hired to rescue someone from within the raft, and to do that he has a mass outbreak. He causes all the, obviously the electronics to go down, which frees up all the prisoners, and we have a fight of epic proportions on our hands. So epic it takes Brian Michael Bendis the first 3 issues to get it all out of the way. Not that that's such a bad thing, because there isn't like a wasted moment there. It's all action-packed, really exciting stuff, with, you know, Spider-Man really on the ropes at one point. And it isn't until the Sentry turns up that kind of turns the battle in favour of our superhero teams. And it is, of course, Captain America who goes, well, you know, fate brought us all together to begin with, Iron Man. Look what's happened now. Iron Man isn't too keen on this, but goes with it. We find out that the person Electro was sent to break out of the raft was Carl Lycos. Carl Lycos's alter ego being Sauron. It's a trip to the Savage Land! Yay! So yes, they jump in some shield craft and fly over to Savage Land to retrieve Sauron. Unfortunately, even before, practically after they've landed, they get captured. Isn't it always the way? Again, there's a lot of humorous bits, mostly because of Spider-Man in there doing his big quips, Wolverine and being his ravagey self. When they do get caught, it's humorous. They are kind of hung, and they have these electric bars across them, and they're just so placed so it covers up the gentleman's modesty. And it's amazing how Spider-Woman's hair just naturally falls to cover her breastages. It just makes me smile when they do things like that. The end of this leads to a much darker place for Marvel. There, with S.H.I.E.L.D. especially. S.H.I.E.L.D. doing some kind of nefarious dealings on Savage Island, which is apparently a neutral zone. It's just, I mean, if anyone hadn't been reading Avengers, much like myself, this was a great start, very exciting start, and it did have me hooked for quite some years. I suddenly became this big Avengers fan. I was reading the Mighty Avengers, I was reading the Initiative, I was reading, well, there was another Avengers book, I can't remember which one it was, but I had about 4 on the go, and then they renumbered them again and I stopped. Anyway, in the back of here, as always, a couple of articles. The writer, Brian Michael Bendis, on the new Avengers. Bit about the artist, David Finch. And then some further reading at the back, which tells us, well, we've already had Avengers Disassembled. Siege is coming in volume 60. And I have already got it, I've just not reviewed it yet, but The House of M as well. So, New Avengers. Great book, easy to pick up.